Well, that was quite the finale. I enjoyed a lot of it. I thought it was really cool in a lot of ways. I thought it was brilliant at times. I thought it was harrowing and creepy and scary at times, emotional and heartfelt, and had giant stakes and a very intimidating villain. It had everything that I like about Doctor Who. You know, it was really good. It was really good. I must say I had some qualms with it, which, you may or may not be able to guess what I had problems with, but, I'll get to that down the way. But first, let's talk about the stuff I did like about it. And the biggest new element to this story, of course, being the Toymaker himself, Neil Patrick Harris. I thought he was brilliant. I thought he was great. I really liked his performance. He was giving me very strong John Sims the Master vibes, as a matter of fact, which makes sense because they wanted to get someone who could match the energy of David Tennant, and they already had, they did with the Master. They found someone who matched the energy, who could be a villainous foil to David Tennant. So it makes sense they would get another person who kind of had the same energy going on. Very devious and playful and sinister, and he even had a big old dance number in the middle. It was giving me a very strong Sound of Drums, Last of the Time Lords vibes. He was enormously camp in the best way. I liked that he was constantly fluctuating between different dodgy accents. He was German, and then he was British, and then he had a little bit of American car salesman in there as well, little drips and dabs of that.
Well, that's all right then.
It ties into the original Toymaker from the 60s William Hartnell story. The weird choice to make the original Toymaker be this British fellow in Chinese garb, which I found kind of off-putting and maybe a little tasteless, but to kind of bring that forward and sort of wink at that, nod at that, it makes it make sense in respect to the character, because he views everything as a toy. He considers all of humanity and all in time and space as his playthings. So it would make sense that he would think of our cultural symbols and our accents and our history all as just a toy for him to play with. So I thought that was a cool touch. His double teeth was a nice creepy addition. It was very subtle. I actually didn't catch it the first time when he showed his master gold tooth. Very disturbing, off-putting, surreal, kind of shark-like. I liked his whole vibe. The most Doctor Who-y part of it for me, one of the parts I liked the most, was when they went into the Toymaker's Emporium and they had the whole meeting the creepy puppet man and the little puppet kids that Donna beat up. The carnival stage that sprung out of the darkness gave me strong It vibes, actually. That was very It-ish, with the carnival music and all. I liked all of that. Neil Patrick Harris, awesome, great addition to the cast, great new iteration of classic villain, and I hope to see him return at some point in the future. As for the rest of the cast, David Tennant, excellent as always. He's been great in all three of these specials. It seems like he never stepped away. He seems like he can play the Doctor in his sleep at this point, so he was reliably effective and good in this story. He had some nice, meaty, emotional moments. He's had a few good emotional moments, at least one. He's had many, multiple emotional moments in all three of these episodes, like his friends getting hurt, or the pulling up of trauma, or just self-doubt. Like, there's some interesting shades of exploration in his characterization in this trilogy. In this one, it was very much self-doubt. They really focused on the Doctor being old and tired and worn out and maybe running himself ragged. He's doing everything in his power to just run away from his problems, not confront all the trauma and the horror that he's faced, and just keep on going. And that's a major theme of this story. Tennant, reliably fantastic, reliably good. He's been good in all these specials. And I really like that scene, that core scene with Donna and the Doctor where she gave him the dice speech because he was doubting himself.
I don't know if I can save your life this time.
My dad used to say, dice don't know what the dice did last time. Games don't have a memory. Every game starts from scratch.
Oh, I like that. Well said, Dad.
I thought that was a really good scene. Donna, Catherine Tate, she's reliable as ever as well. She's been really great in these past 3 episodes. She got less to do in this story than than the other two. I did notice that. Donna's basically relegated to the more traditional companion role in this special, which I guess makes sense to a degree because, you've got the first special where it's revolving all around Donna, it's about her recovering her memories and all. Second special, it's just her and Tennant getting to play off against evil doppelganger versions of themselves, so that's like a nice meaty role. But this one, yeah, she's just gets to do some basic companion stuff. It's a very overstuffed episode, so it kind of makes sense. She basically has three things that she does. She gives the doctor some pep talks, she beats up a doll, and she types code. I thought that was a little odd, actually. I don't know where that came from exactly. I know she's the fastest fingers in Chiswick, the fastest typist in Chiswick and all that. That's been established, but where did she learn how to code? When did that happen? I've watched the episode twice now, and it seems like both times it just really glaze over that really quickly and move on.
Mel, is this static or dynamic?
Dynamic. We're using Triad.
Gotcha.
Regardless, she does a great job in this. Catherine Tate, awesome as always, and I liked her in this story as well. Kate Stewart. Kate Stewart's back. It's always great to see Kate. I thought her performance was good. She had some good scenes in this. Again, she didn't have as much to do in this compared to the Doctor and the Toymaker. Pretty much everyone was relegated to small bite-sized chunks of stuff to do. But I did find it a little odd that when she first showed up, she was so distraught. She came up, she hugged the Doctor, and she talked about how she's fought monsters, but how do we fight the human race? I mean, she's fought possessed soldiers before. She's fought aliens that are threatening the entire existence of the world. So it didn't quite track for me. I guess they were just trying to really up the stakes, show you that even Kate Stewart is shaken by this, which, falls in line. It makes sense with the unit's role in general, their purpose on this show, which is essentially to show that the best and the brightest forces of Earth are still no match for whatever the latest alien threat is. The unit's job is to show up and have their bullets have no effect on the alien, and the Doctor has to rescue them. So, that's unit playing its part, so I guess that makes sense.
Just once I'd like to meet an alien menace that wasn't immune to bullets.
Her standout moment was, I really liked when she took the armband off, and she had that total paranoid, xenophobic breakdown. It was really chilling. It was very effective scene. Just seeing this normally stoic, higher level thinking person who's experienced all these things and seen aliens, and she's accepted aliens into her group and been a very forward thinking person, just broken down into this xenophobic, fearful, lizard brain person.
We've been infiltrated by aliens, by a man with two hearts, a man who changes his face and cannot be trusted. And you and her, both with red hair. What is this? Some sort of conspiracy? What are you hiding?
It just showed what must have been going on down below for everyone, just mass chaos of everyone. Not just thinking they're right, but falling prey to their deepest, ugliest, darkest, most subconscious to some degree fears and playing off of those. It tied in well with the theme of the story. The theme, which again gets lost a bit in the shuffle with everything else. I did appreciate it though. The whole idea of everyone thinking they're right. It's very clearly, it's not subtle at all. It's very clearly an allegory for the state of society nowadays in regards to the intranet and cancel culture and harsh mass judgment and feeling supremely right about every opinion and just declaring it out into the void and arguing with people. It's not subtle, but I thought it was an appropriate message. And I do like it when Doctor Who has a social message threaded into the storyline or tying into the sci-fi concept. So I dug that.
That's the game of the 21st century. They shout, and they type, and they cancel. So I fixed it. Now everybody wins. And everyone loses. The never-ending game.
Who else we got? Shirley Ann Bingham. I like Shirley. I like her character. I like the actress. I think she's charming and funny, and she has a good sense of low-key, dry wit, comedic timing. She got to do a little more science advisor stuff in the story, which I appreciated. In the first story, I liked her, but I feel like they really, half of her dialogue was just about her wheelchair. I felt like that was a little bit of a misuse of her character. I like the Doctor Who is forward-thinking, and they're trying to show more representation, and they're trying to have good social messages in their stories. I appreciate all of that, and I like that. But I feel like a better way to do representation was simply to have the character who is a wheelchair user be the scientific advisor character. We already see the wheelchair. we already see the character, let the character play the role they're supposed to play, not just be a avatar for virtue signaling, essentially. So she got a little bit more to do. I would hope that we've covered all that now, and the next time we see her in a future unit story, she's just the scientific advisor. But I did like her in the story. Who else is there? Mel is here. Mel, who was one of my least favorite companions in my least favorite run of the classic era of Doctor Who, but very likable person. So I do like Mel more now. I think her characterization is a lot better in this episode than it ever was in the classic series. She was definitely a more regressive kind of a companion character in the classic series. They say she's a computer programmer, but then all she's really used for is screaming loudly and running away or getting captured by the aliens. So it's nice to see her back, and it's nice to see her given a little bit more stuff to do, a few emotional moments. She actually uses a computer for the first time on screen, I believe. Again, the story's a bit overstuffed, and I didn't necessarily think that she added that much to it, but I it's the 60th anniversary. It's nice to have a little bit of classic era representation there. And she had some nice moments between her and the Doctor.
Within range in 3 minutes.
You're brilliant. Hello.
Hi.
I warmed to her during the behind the couch segments that are on the classic Doctor Who Blu-ray releases, where the old companions and Doctor actors, they show up and they watch an old classic episode and comment on it, kind of Mystery Science Theater style.
I think it might be getting a bit much now, this.
You think so?
She's a very charming person, and it's cool to see. I'd like to see her again in a future story, totally. I think that's pretty much all of the main cast. For such a massive, fast-moving episode, it's a very small cast of characters. Probably because there's just so much to get through, and there was so much focus on the Doctor and the Toymaker in the story. Moving on to the plot. I like the plot. I like the return of the Toymaker. I thought the mayhem that was going on in the street seemed horrifying. It seemed like a lot of really terrible stuff was probably happening just off screen. We barely get a taste of it. The plane crashes and there's people beating each other up in the street and stuff. It seems horrible. And that is a shocking way to start the story, but it seems like after we get at those first few scenes, it really kind of disappears off the radar and disappears from the plot pretty quickly. They kind of present it and then they don't show it again. I wonder if the unfortunate loss of Bernard Cribbins, who was only able to film that one scene that was at the end of Wild Blue Yonder, maybe affected their ability to show that. Maybe they had more scenes, more street-level scenes. He would have been the civilian point of view character for that. And I think that him being gone from the story might have lost a meaningful thread. It did feel, watching the story, I liked it, but it did feel a bit overstuffed, but at the same time, felt a little bit like it was missing something, like it was missing a C plot that we could cut away from. It seemed like things were very hyper-focused on just the Doctor, pretty much the whole story. I liked the concept of using Stooky Bill to be the insidious seed planted in humanity's psyche from the very first recorded image for television. I think that was a cool twist. I always like it when Doctor Who combines real world history into their sci-fi evil alien plans. So I liked that inclusion. Creepy. And I went back and I watched the actual real footage of Stooky Bill that was recorded back in the day, and they did a really good job of capturing and recreating the way that looked back in the day, which is very creepy. Perfect horror movie material. The idea that the villain is evil and thinks of everything as a toy and everything as a game, but he still adheres to the rules of play, that's the one thing he'll never do. That's an interesting twist on a villain. That's a nice way to show what he is and is not capable of and how to actually beat him. I liked how the Doctor played him at cards and then tricked him by, he didn't matter if he won or lost, but he had that ace up his sleeve of, best of three, of course, you can't break that rule. If you're a gamer, you can't break that rule. There was a nice slow burn buildup of dread and just tension and creepiness throughout the story, from the opening sequence with Toymaker and the guy buying the doll, through to the discovery of Stooky Bill and all of the messages. The arpeggio sing-song laugh was a nice touch. One thing is that I do feel like the story like ramped up and built up really nicely and then kind of abruptly ended. Like the finale came quicker than I thought it was going to come. It wrapped up, I guess because they needed to have those last 15 minutes or so to do like the final denouement and like the whole wrap up with Shooty's doctor and with the doctor going and living with Donna and getting a new TARDIS and all that. They needed that room for like the end of it, which happens often in TV shows. I think I'm often a little bit shocked by how quickly the finale, like the final battle, the final face-off happens in finales because they need to have space for the ending. But it just felt a little bit rushed. I felt like we were building and building, and then there was a dance number, and then boom, we're in the final scene all of a sudden. I still liked it. The dance number was amazing. That was a cool sequence. He really slammed Kate into the wall and was throwing Mel around. That was a little disturbing. It's kind of disturbing and shocking to see, a guy throwing a woman around like that. I don't really like that. But again, he's the evil villain, so it does line. You're supposed to hate him. It lines up with his character. So him turning people into balls was terrifying and really well done. That was a very creepy, cool moment. And I liked the rose petals firing out of the guns. That was a visually cool, disturbing, beautiful nightmare sequence. Clearly, I liked a lot of this story. I hope the Toymaker comes back at some point. I really like the production values, the direction. But now we have to get to the part that I'm a little bit more lukewarm on / divided / maybe not liking so much, which is, of course, the regeneration, or should I say the bi-generation. Russell T. Davies has invented a new form of regeneration that allows two doctors to exist at the same time, one of them just happening to be his favorite doctor, his creation, David Tennant, who gets to go off and coexist at the same time as the new doctor and gets his own TARDIS. In fact, gets the original TARDIS. Shooty gets the copy TARDIS. And I just found that to be not great, to be perfectly honest. I think it kind of broke a tradition that Doctor Who shouldn't break. I'm all about change and mixing things up and doing new things with the show, but I felt like the one thing the show was consistent about that I appreciated, that helped it always remain fresh and embrace change and move forward, was that at some point the actor finishes their part, finishes their arc, and regenerates into a whole new person, and then that new person is the Doctor, the only Doctor, the hero we are going to follow. Love or hate the new regeneration, miss the old guy, not feeling too good about the new person, or whatever, doesn't matter. This is the new Doctor, and we're going to go on adventures with them for a while.
We all change. When you think about it, we're all different people, all through our lives. And that's okay, that's good. You've got to keep moving so long as you remember all the people that you used to be. I will not forget one line of this. Not one day. I swear. I will always remember when the Doctor was me.
The fact that we have a David Tennant Doctor just sitting off screen, off in the wings, it feels like a Disney note. But this guy's really popular. People love him. We got to keep him around just in case. It feels like a break glass in case of emergencies Doctor. It's a continuation of what I felt like ever since Jodie Whittaker regenerated into David Tennant, which is a bit of an undermining of Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor. A lack of confidence in his ability to carry the show and keep it going. I mean, obviously it was a very clear bid to pull back the old fans who loved Tennant's era and try to like get new interest in it. I get all that. I get that. And it kind of made a sort of sense to have a classic Doctor be in this 60th anniversary weird space between the end of one Doctor's era and the beginning of another Doctor's era. Like, I'm willing to accept all that, but I just feel like this is a bridge too far. And I also feel like it's a weird retread, like almost unnecessary, because we already had an emergency backup, David Tennant, in the universe. We have the Meta-Crisis Doctor. I know he's in another alternate reality with Rose, but obviously whenever they need to, they brought Rose back. They can bring that Tennant Doctor back whenever they wanted to. They didn't need to have a third Tennant. He's even got his own TARDIS. It just opens the doors to a lot of things I don't like. What if Doctor Who or Disney get desperate or just want to make more money and want to pump out more content, which is their MO very much so. And they're like, well, we could have a spin-off series starring David Tennant's Doctor, and then you'll have the main Doctor Who series with Ncuti Gatwa, or whoever is playing the Doctor on that series, and the David Tennant show. You got your first black actor playing the Doctor in a lead role, and you've got to have like a backup old white Doctor in the wings. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth. So when I saw that bi-generation happen, I wasn't like leaping out of my seat being like, oh my God, this is amazing. It kind of let the wind out of the sails for the episode for me, to be honest. It was disappointing. I'm sorry, I'm sure this is a hot take. I know that a lot of people have had this take at this point. I'm guessing this is a divisive thing, but this is my take. This is my honest opinion. I'm not going to sugarcoat things. I'm not going to try to step away from controversial opinions. On this channel, I want to be honest with you guys. I want to be straightforward and give you my honest, as a lifelong Doctor Who fan, this is my feelings on this. I felt like it was unnecessary. I felt like it was a bit of a disservice to the incoming actor playing the Doctor. It makes the role harder for him. It makes it easier for a whole group of people to just headcanon that he's not their Doctor. Their Doctor is off hanging out with Donna Noble. It's just not great. I don't think it was necessary. I think it was Russell T Davies loving his Doctor from his era way too much and repeating something that he already did once in the original series, but even worse. That's it. If you don't like what I'm saying, that's totally cool. We're all allowed to have our own opinions. I just ask that you please be civil and not a dick in the comments if you disagree with me. That's all I ask. Anyway, moving on. That being said, me disliking having a big issue with the bi-generation concept, seeing Ncuti for an extended period of time instead of just for 5 seconds was exciting. That was cool as far as he goes. Let me talk about him for a second. I thought he was great. I thought he hit the ground running. And even with this very challenging, he has to not only show up and be the new Doctor, but he has to match energy with the previous Doctor right there from go. And I thought he killed it. I thought he was charismatic. He was charming. He was energetic. He was funny. He gave me Tennant/Matt Smith vibes, which I really dig. I like having a fun, high-energy, youthful Doctor again. I love Capaldi. I love all the Doctors for different reasons. But it is nice to have like a high-energy, funny Doctor again. I really like having funny Doctors.
Yeah, myth, Mel. What do you think?
I think you're beautiful.
I thought he knocked it out of the park. I was immediately engaged with him. I am totally on board with seeing his series, the upcoming Christmas special and beyond. He immediately stepped into the role and felt like the Doctor. I also liked how empathetic he was. Even though I didn't like this bi-generation thing, I did like the scenes between him and David Tennant. I liked how he hugged him and kissed him on the forehead and comforted him. That, there was some interesting concepts there. The idea of self-love, the idea of, imagine if a future version of yourself could step back into the past and give you a pep talk and comfort you and tell you, it's okay. I know that things have been hard for you. I know, of course, but you're going to get through this and you're going to be fine. We've all given ourselves like self-love, self-talks at some point, but imagine being able to have a future version of yourself literally come in and confirm that you're going to be okay in the future. I liked his scenes. I liked his vibe. I liked the 15th Doctor so far. And it's not like I don't like seeing a happy, settled down David Tennant Doctor hanging out and having a happy family with Donna Noble and her clan. It was a heartwarming scene. There's still a lot of heart throughout the story. It never lost that. Even though I don't like the final bi-generation twist that was essentially the reason for the Doctor's, David Tennant's arc in this trilogy of him running away from his trauma and running himself ragged and just keeps going and going to avoid the pain. It was effective and it was nicely woven into the trilogy and then into this story specifically with the scenes of him doubting himself and thinking he can't be the Toymaker. So emotionally, this story had heart and it had catharsis to it. It was a very well-directed episode. It had a lot of moments of tension and dread. It looked like $1 million. This is obviously where all the money went. I mean, all the episodes have looked good. The middle one has some dodgy green screen and CGI, but is still an excellent episode. This one looked fantastic, every scene, especially the moment when the stage collapsed and then all the hallways were collapsing and they were running out of that. That all looked fantastic. So the effects are really good. The direction is good. I like Murray Gold's music again. I like his creepy carnival music that he's playing in the Toymaker's place, and the little chanting, la la la, singing.
Amy Pond was touched by the weeping angel, and she died.
She died of old age.
Well, that's all right then.
I feel like he's matured as a he did the music for so long. He's obviously a very accomplished, amazing composer. He's done so many tunes, a lot of amazing stuff. I love his whole soundtrack for Heaven Sent, for example. But I feel like in these 3 specials, he brought a lot of nuance and differentiation and texture to the scenes without being too overblown or drowning out or overpowering the scenes as much as I would say that the music used to in some of the earlier seasons of modern Doctor Who. So yeah, it was really good music. Final verdict, I thought this was a great episode with a major issue I have with it. Overall, I think, and I felt like of the 3, I guess I like it slightly less than the other 2, because the other 2 I had virtually no problems with it, or minor cosmetic issues, or maybe like 1 or 2 clunky lines I didn't like. But this one, I felt like pacing-wise, it was felt a little overstuffed and a little rushed, and it had the bi-generation thing, which I think is a mistake. But on the other hand, I really liked the Toymaker. I thought he was awesome. I thought it was a very effective villain, an appropriately epic final villain for the Doctor to face in this trilogy. I thought the Doctor and Donna had a lot of great moments together. I thought Shudigawa was fantastic as the new Doctor. And overall, I feel like this trilogy was very strong. It was a very successful 60th anniversary trilogy. Not really a celebration of 60 years of Who. I guess that'd be another little thing I would say. It's not, it feels way more like a celebration of the Russell T Davies era of Doctor Who. This whole trilogy feels like a mini Russell T Davies classic series, in like a microcosm of it, with all the things I love and hate about his style of show running. It's got a lot of heart. It's got heartfelt, emotional scenes between nuanced, deep, complex characters. It's got a lot of creepy, cool, scary monsters and a lot of atmosphere. And it has a giant overblown finale that ends in a massive Deus Ex Machina. All the hallmarks of a classic Russell T Davies series. Because it is a Deus Ex Machina. The Doctor bi-generated at the end to beat the Toymaker. That was not really threaded or set up in the story. You just got 2 of him, and then 2 guys playing ball versus 1 guy playing ball. It's kind of not fair. It's kind of cheating, but at the end of the day, it fit within the rules, and the guy's a monster anyway, so, whatever. Take him out. But I did feel like that was not the most creative or clever way to wrap things up. Overall, I thought the 60th anniversary trilogy was a success. It still felt like a return to form for Doctor Who after a very tumultuous past few years. They were all really tightly written, very fun, very high energy, emotional, scary, cathartic, cool sci-fi concepts, cool aliens, scary aliens, beautifully directed, beautifully shot, top-tier special effects, great music. Just a really solid trilogy of Doctor Who stories that I feel like should bring back a lot of the old fans back to the show, and ideally turn new people on. Because if I was just starting out and never seen Doctor Who before, and I watched The Star Beast and this trilogy, I would be like, oh, this show is awesome. I am totally on board. Yeah, I give this episode a B+. Not quite an A. Sorry, I had to knock it from the A category because of the issue I have with the end, with the bi-generation, and with some pacing issues and so forth. But still a really excellent episode and a strong finale. Looking forward to the Christmas special. I can't wait. It looks like it's going to be crazy. I'm really psyched to see Shooty and Ruby in action. And yeah, so I'll see you guys around then. Yeah, that's it. That's it. I'm done talking. I'm done spieling. So until next time, Kay, signing out.